essays a woman, like, and I'm not, and like this is like in a vacuum necessarily, so like usually when we're talking about essay, like a man essaying a woman is like a lot more serious.
Why?
Like, well, I'm not talking about, it's hard to say that, like not a man essaying a woman is not more serious, but like, yeah.
So imagine if I was making this claim the other way.
No, I'm not saying.
Just envision if I was making the claim the other way.
Yeah, I would say that's
when a man essays a woman, that's not a big deal, right? Can you even imagine that?
No, I'm just talking about like women fear. Do you fear women?
Yes.
Whoa, wait. Can you just repeat? Hold on. Repeat your claim.
No.
You said it wasn't. I don't want to misquote you, but you said something along the lines of, "It's not as big of a deal."
No, that's not what I meant.
Okay. Well,
really.
what did you say? Just repeat what you said.
Okay. So can I rephrase it though?
Repeat what you said, then you can rephrase it.
Okay. So I said it's when we're talking about essay, like a lot of the time it is not as like serious when we're talking about like, you know, like
when
like
women
in general.
do it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the method of abuse, like physically?
Well, not method. Yeah, that
Wait, does
has
this
to do
apply
with
to
it.
other forms of assault or violence?
Because
it kind of goes into it because like you can physically abuse.
So any
while
crime
you're
that
sexually.
occurs to a woman is more serious.
It's not more serious, but it usually impacts more harm. Yeah.
Okay,
by
so
a man.
Here, let me ask you this. So if a woman is a victim of a crime, she is impacted more severely than a man.
Usually, yes, because men are biologically stronger.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Sorry, guys. So if the chick is really buff.
Well, yeah. If a girl is really buff and she beats her boyfriend's ass, then yeah, that's an anomaly.
So
like I would assure you would
buff
agree.
and she gets beat up.
Let me ask you this. So
that's going to be less impactful than if she was weak.
So if a man gets shot in the head and a woman gets shot in the head, is there a differential on the impact?
No, because they're not using force; they're using a gun.
That's
But
force.
there is a
force.
differential if a woman gets punched in the
100%
face
force.
versus a man because women have less dense skulls. So
Right, but both men and women have the same capacity.
They just mad at us 'cause we're better at
the
it?
same injury.
Oh, okay. So do you think men are stronger than women?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so do you think men will hit harder than women?
Yeah.
Okay, so men will hit a woman harder than a woman will hit
Yeah,
a man.
but so what? If I were to get into a fight with a really weak guy who started shit, nobody would think twice if I smacked him in the
Yeah,
mouth.
but because that's an anomaly.
because his skull is less
No,
dense.
it's not an anomaly. Almost every time two men fight, one is significantly stronger than another.
Yeah, it's a generalization. Women are
generalization of what is standard. And so this idea
women
that
tend to get
because women happen
concussions
to
more
be
easily.
weaker than men,
Here,
almost all men
she's
are
right
weaker
here,
than
okay.
other men.
But
no.
women do tend to get concussions more easily. So
Here,
even if you're
Austin, just right here. She's right here.
if
Go
you're
ahead.
watching like MMA, for example, if you watch the women's fights, even between women on women, they finish much quicker than they do with men because they have less dense skulls, and so they are more susceptible to concussions earlier on as well.
Well, let us assume for a moment. Let us assume that men were far more likely to get concussions than women, but were far stronger than women in every other regard, which they are right now. And if they hit them anywhere else, it did way more damage. Okay? Wouldn't you still make the recommendation that because there's a force differential that men didn't hit women? Even if women hit men? Wouldn't you still make the same recommendation? Even if men
Yes,
could
of
get...
course.
Yeah, of course. So the concussion thing doesn't matter. Ultimately,
just
it doesn't
was trying to
matter.
clarify what
If
she
we're
was
talking
saying.
about the moral imperative, right? If a woman strikes a man, then she gets hit back. That's the way it works. That's what you get. You know what that does is it teaches women not to hit men.
There's a really good Bill Burr bit on that, by the way.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think anybody should be hitting anybody. I just think
that's
that
great.
There's usually a difference, like...
I don't think anybody should get cancer,
Yeah.
But they're going to. And so the thing is like, since they're going to, I want to have some kind of reasonable policy and some type of reasonable social policy around how you deal with the fact that, because it's going to happen, women get really mad, they hit men for some reason socially unacceptable for men to hit them back. And the answer to this is, well, it's because they're weaker. And it's like, okay, but every time a man gets in a fight with another man, the other man is also weaker than him most of the time, right? One of them is weaker than the other.
There should be battered men's shelters?
Well, What is a battered woman sheltered exactly?
A woman who was in a domestic violence relationship, and she's in a shelter for safety.
Yeah, I mean, I would give those to men for different things.
For different why?
Yeah, like false SA claims. Right?
But why wouldn't you give it for physical abuse?
He's too
why
rich.
Wouldn't you
They
give
should
it for
hide his
physical
identity.
Abuse,
What?
Why wouldn't you give it for physical abuse?
Well, I don't think it would be necessary to do so.
Why not?
Because generally speaking, I don't think most men would need that for physical damage.
Okay, so you think that women... Okay, so do you think that men are more physically abusive than women?
No.
So then why... So do you think battered women's shelter should be a thing?
I mean, it's fine. You can have a battered women's shelter if you want, I guess, yeah.
But men do cause a lot more damage, is what she's trying to say.
So what?
I think. Well,
You can't get mad at men because they're better at it.
no one's mad. I think she's
No,
just
it's
saying
just...
that women...
Think about, like, sports. Like, you have different
thinking about
leagues for
sports.
different, like...
Yeah, unless somebody puts on a wig.
Well, I mean, it's a comparison. Like, you have different leagues for different strengths, just like how women and men have different strengths.
Well, then I guess lightweights who take on heavyweights should have a
No,
battered
but
men's
I think
shelter.
she's saying that-
Like, what do you want me to say?
when women are abused, physically abused, they are... it's a lot more detrimental to their physical well-being and health.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I would say that physically, right, they could take the short end of the stick because they're less strong, yes. But that does not mean it's more detrimental. That's
their
where I would
physical
have...
well-being?
Now, hang on. I just conceded that point. Literally just conceded that point.
Wait.
I would say that doesn't mean that it's detrimental, though, over what's going on with the man.
Wait, Andrew, if I may point out, I do believe this is shifting the goalposts here, because I believe your original claim was, even in the instance where, let's assume that the damage caused by a woman onto a man and the damage caused by a man onto a woman, assuming the damage was totally equivalent, your position was still, even with equivalent damage done,
No, it wasn't.
that it's still worse for the woman.
No, I misspoke.
That was your position.
I misspoke then.
So this whole argument,
But I'm
over
willing to just concede it because I don't think it has any merit, right?
That's not my position.
I'm going to assume this, in fact.
Let me just. Oh, wait.
One second. Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to
This is below
assume
the
this, in
threshold.
fact, that every single time there's a confrontation between a man and a woman, which is physical, that the man's going to overwhelmingly win and the woman's going to get her ass kicked.
Yeah.
Okay? No matter what. In every single circumstance. So what? You hit a man, that's what happens. What's the problem here?
Weren't we talking about SA? How did
And what
this
were we
sound?
talking about before that?
Yeah, but I'd like an answer to
I don't. Okay.
I'd like an answer
I
to the
don't
question.
think that. Okay, I'm just saying. I think that like when there is a physical abuse situation, like if a woman ends up like punching her boyfriend, he is not necessarily going to need to like go to the hospital
what?
because he does. So it doesn't take a physical toll on him.
Yeah,
as
it takes a
much.
physical toll. You're just saying it takes a lesser one.
Yeah, it takes a
My
lesser
question
one.
to you is, what is actually wrong with? What is actually immoral about? What is actually problematic if a woman strikes a man for him to strike her back? What?
Honestly, I don't necessarily think there is
Right.
something wrong there.
Right. So then your whole point here makes no sense, because even if I concede the battered women's shelters, yes, they're going to lose
Well,
every single time they get into a fight with a man. You've just conceded that
But
if
it's a
they strike
different
a man,
thing. If you're
it's perfectly
striking him
acceptable.
first, then it's different from him striking you first.
Yeah, but you and I agree that nobody should be striking anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But we understand that there are women who do strike men. And if they
Yeah.
do that, you don't have anything morally to say about the man hitting her back. Nothing.
So, are you going to say that Cassie shouldn't have maybe pressed charges against Diddy?
For what?
Are we all in agreement that what Diddy did to Cassie was wrong and that is SA? I mean, that's abuse. but
well,
it's
I don't
also,
know
Hold on,
exactly what
is
the details here are.
well, because I feel like there's some
correlation
kind of
here.
discrepancy here, and it's not being accurately discussed that when a man hits a woman unprovoked without the woman hitting him, then that's wrong. And
Yeah,
just
but
like you're saying,
I
no
don't
one should
think
be hitting each
we
other.
both
I think
agree.
we probably all agree on that.
Yeah, we
So,
both agree.
I mean, he'd be able to do a lot more damage to Cassie than Cassie would have done to him.
Yeah, but so this is where the problem comes in, though, right? It's like, so what? Yes, I get it. The guy's going to do way more damage than the girl, right? But so what? The moral imperative seems like it's the same to me. It just seems like it's exactly the same thing. So it's like,
I
okay,
understand
you're
that.
not.
So we were
you're-
talking
it's-
about women being nurturing.
So-
keep up at this
right?
point.
Is it moral for you to hit men? Is it moral for men to hit you? Great. That's what we've established.
Why don't you believe in like maternal instincts and women being more nurturing?
Well, I think they have maternal instincts, but
doesn't that coincide with?
Well, what does nurturing mean here? Let's start with that. What does nurture mean?
I think being a natural caretaker, being inclined to take care of children and those in need.
Yeah, no, I dispute categorically. When I look at data for single fathers and single mothers, the single fathers seem to be excellent caretakers. The children live in cleaner houses, have better outcomes, they go to prison less. Almost every outcome, every metric, they do better.
Do you think that's because usually when the father gets the child, it's because the mother was like a really bad mom? And the father is like way better?
No. I think that sometimes they just get them because the mom dies.
Yeah, that's really, an outlier.
But we can make these comparisons like this, right? So you can follow widows. You can follow men whose wives have died, and then you can follow women whose husbands have died.
Okay,
and you can take
have
a
you
look,
done this? Though?
And you can there's been tons of studies which have done this, and you can look at the comparisons, and you can see that the outcomes for single fathers in single father homes are better. And here's why. Here's the number one reason why. It's because of men. It's because of women bringing strange men in. They're usually far more likely, if they're not related to the child, to be abusive towards the child. Men who are raising children, they don't have that problem with women.
But this isn't talking about men and women. This is talking about single mothers and single fathers.
So then wouldn't that prove the point that men are more abusive? And I don't care either way, but just because you said earlier that you don't believe that men are more abusive.
No, it proves that men have a force doctrine which can make a deterrence that women can't. Not that they're more abusive, but that women are far less likely to do something bad to a man's child because he can really significantly hurt her badly, right?
But is there a study with like mothers and fathers together that shows? Because like this study is only
he is right about the outcome of single dads.
Well, yeah, but this is showing single mothers and single fathers. There might be other
Metrics?
Yes, there might be like other outside factors affecting that.
But here's what my argument was. My argument was, no, I'm not willing to concede that more nurturing, if our metric for more nurturing is, kid's healthy, kid is clean, kid feels loved, kid feels safe. I feel like that's all things we would agree nurturing is.
Yeah,
and if that is the case and the metrics for all these children is way better under all of those criteria, then how can I make the claim that women are more nurturing?
Because I think that those claims might kind of like mix together with like your idea of what a man should be, because that's like if a kid is fed, that's like providing. If a kid feels safe, that's like providing.
Nurturing, yeah. Well, what the hell does nurturing mean?
Nurturing is like love.
Women tend to put more
loved. Like
I can tell you,
think
as
a kid feels loved when he's dirty?
No, it's not like it's like words of affirmation. Think of love languages.
I think you're probably wrong there, though. Do the studies specifically say that the dads keep the kids more clean? Because if I am just guessing, and I do know that you're right about the stats on this, but if I was to guess the variables involved here, like women do tend to put more pressure on, like we're more neurotic. So we're like, they have to be perfectly clean, they have to be this, and that makes us more stressed, and maybe we're like more bitchy and less caretaky.
But it also creates multitasking, so you get less of it done, whereas men do singular tasks better. So the thing is I think that men, I think that their basics would be like, okay, you're fed, you're clean, right? You went to school, you didn't fuck up, it was a good day. Right? I really think that it's probably not going to be too much more complex than that. And by the way, it probably doesn't need to be more complex.
But do you think that maybe like a woman's biological drive to be a caretaker, and like, because we definitely have more anxiety when it comes to things like that?
You may have more of a biological drive to be one, but what we're disputing is whether or not you're better at it. Yeah. My dispute here, again, I'll give you my position again. There is not one thing a woman can do that a man can't do equally as good, if not better, but there's multiple things that women cannot do that men can do much better.
So if men could have children, would you date men?
No.
So why? Okay, so then why are you dating women if the only thing they can do better is have children?
What did I give you?
Biological attraction.
What did I give you the criteria here for?
I'm asking you, like, you said that the only... Okay, so why are you with your wife, for example?
You mean the mother of my children?
Yeah, why are you with her?
Because she's the mother of my children and I love her.
Okay, why do you love her?
But for all sorts of different reasons.
Why? Give some examples.
Because she's super smart and she cares a lot about me and she thinks I'm wonderful and et cetera, et cetera,
Okay,
et cetera.
there you go.
There I go what? What are you talking about? How does this demonstrate that women are better at any of these tasks than men?
I can give you an example of women being more
Wait,
nurturing.
are you saying because she has all of those that I should feel like attracted to men if they have those?
Okay,
what are you
because
talking
why
about?
wouldn't you be with a man who's better?
Because I don't want to fuck men.
But why don't you want
Because they're fucking men. What do you mean?
Why not?
Because
You're not
I'm
attracted
not
to them.
a homosexual.
Yeah, you're not attracted to them, exactly. So the only thing that you think women are better at is having children. So you view.
I'm sorry. You're right. There's
Yes.
two things. I guess women are also better at at men wanting to fuck them over other men.
Okay, so you
win.
So you view
Take
your
the W.
Okay, no, you view your wife as inferior.
Inferior in many tasks, yes.
Inferior in everything but having kids.
Yeah, she's going to be better than me at having children.
And that's it.
But individually, that doesn't mean that individually women can't be better at some tasks than men. So, for instance, my wife's better at writing than I am, right? She has a book. I don't have a book. She's better at all sorts of things than I am. She's better at complex mathematics than me. She's better at music than I am, right? Sucks at all sorts of other things. This is the ultimate red herring you just gave, which is if your wife is better than you at some tasks, then this somehow equates, because at the individual level this is true, that you can demonstrate that there's tasks which women can generally do that men also cannot do just as well as them. You cannot do that.
I think that
it's fallacious argumentation.
That's fair. I think that men are very good and very bad at things. I think they're the best and the worst at things, and women kind of like fall in the middle. So it's kind of hard to like make that distinction.
So then you agree with me that there's nothing you can think of at all which women are better at than men, but there's things you can think of that men are better at than women?
I mean, I would have to honestly.
Is that what you just said?
Well, honestly, like I would have to think about that because I think that
Well, think about it. I'll give you time right now.
So back to the nurturing point,
Yeah.
if you look at divorce stats, when the other partner gets sick, the men leave their sick wives at insane rates. So with that, I mean, like you can't say that's more nurturing. Maybe not to a child, but to their partner. Well, in that regard, women are definitely.
Well, I'm not familiar with exactly what studies that you're looking at, right? And this could have something to do with how long they've been there. If there was kids, because women could be more likely, for instance, to conceal sicknesses. They could be more likely, for instance, to conceal certain things which have been going on, which led to certain sicknesses. So there's justification. I don't know because I'm not familiar with the stats that you're citing. There could be all sorts of reasons for this, which have nothing to do with nurturing, but have to do with justification.
Also, careers that lend
look it up and then
themselves
circle
to
back at
nurturing.
some point.
We should do that, and I'll take a look at the study, sure.
Careers that lend themselves to nurturing and caretaking, like nursing and teaching, do have a much higher rate of female workers.
They do. I agree. Hospitals are absolutely begging for male nurses, and they're begging like you can't believe for them because they want physically strong men to be able to move patients.
But why don't they choose to go into that if they're more nurturing?
Because they can make a lot more money doing other things.
Okay, so they're not passionate about being nurturing. Women are okay. So why don't
women can make a lot of money
women
doing
can
other
make
things too, and they don't choose to.
See,
they don't have a propensity.
Hang on, this is where we're going to have some disputes. No, they can't. They're not going to go do roofing. They're not going to go do trade work. They're not going to go be rocket ship engineers.
Yeah,
they're not going to do any of that shit. They're going to do the exact same shit that they've been doing for 2,000 years, which is nursing, teaching, and serving your beverages.
They go to medical school. They
go to medical school to be nurses.
Why don't they go to business school?
Are going down in men.
Why don't they go to business school
because
instead of
they're
doing
not
nursing?
interested in having business.
There are higher rates of graduation.
But why are they more interested in? Okay, I'm asking.
They're really not that interested.
Why are they more interested in nursing and teaching than in business and STEM?
Because there's an application of what can be done.
I think they also have a higher propensity for nurturing and caretaking.
No, I think it's a limitation on what is possible. What is possible for most women? I don't think most women. Hang on, I'll answer to this. I don't think most women can do roofing. Do you agree or disagree?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, hang on.
But that's a specific example.
I don't think most women can be indoor electricians. I don't think most women can do that. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
I don't think most women can be plumbers.
But those are all labor jobs.
Yeah, so is nursing. Nursing's a labor job.
No, but this is also the reason for the gender pay gap.
What's that?
And there are higher rates of graduation rates for women right now than
that's always been the case, even since literally the dawn of the nation. It's always been the case that women had higher graduation rates. Always been the case that they have higher graduation rates. That's never not been the case.
But what I'm saying is
because physical labor is available to men. That's
but what
why.
I'm saying is they can go into careers that will be more lucrative.
They can, but they don't. They don't
because
want to.
they have a higher propensity for jobs that include
Yeah,
nurturing.
maybe
and
they want to
caretaking.
go into that because that's where they're wired to, but that still wouldn't demonstrate.
Okay, so that's where they're
hang on,
wired to.
But they still wouldn't demonstrate that they're more so X. So let us pretend for a second, let us assume for a second that we knew immediately that both of us were wired for the same exact amount of empathy. We knew this, right? But you were limited in what the scope was of jobs that you could or couldn't have, and I wasn't. So out of all the ones that you had, you went, oh, well, you know what? I'm pretty high up in empathy, so I think I'll be a nurse because I would really like to do that. I may also have really liked to do that, but I had all of these other jobs available to me to go do those instead, so I went and picked one of those that I liked even more than nursing. So the thing is like, even if that's true, in this comparison, it would not demonstrate at all that women are more nurturing because they choose the nursing. It wouldn't demonstrate
what you're saying.
that.
So you think that women have high nurturing compared to like intelligence, like their relative intelligence? Okay.
From their relative
that's
position.
Fair
yeah.
enough.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't think that their capacity for it supersedes that of men.
Okay.
I've never thought this.
I will agree to disagree.
I've never
then.
thought. By the way,
I disagree.
but based on what? Show me, logically demonstrate for me how it's true.
Because there isn't really like a study that can be done, because the studies that you're showing me aren't necessarily like demonstrating nurturing. Like that can be demonstrating, like you said, like
how do you demonstrate it?
It's like it would be hard to demonstrate it through research. I think it's like, look at like animals, for example,
Well,
like how they treat their young, like how they treat their offspring. Like usually it's the mom taking care of the baby.
But in animals, I would argue that's a mechanism. These are mechanisms, not intuitive, rational decisions.
Are we not animals?
I think it's instinct as well for when a
Yeah, I think it's the
woman
same
gives
for
birth
humans.
to take care of her child.
Stop. Hey, hold on. You've been talking a bunch. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's instinct as well when a woman gives birth to be, nurturing and caretaking of her child.
I agree that women have mechanisms for nurturing, but women also have higher faculties for reason. They can offset feelings and emotion also with reason. They have higher intelligence than animals do.
Yeah.
So just saying that, well, okay, their biology kicks in. There's also a downside with this that men don't have, for instance, like postpartum depression, where moms terminate their children and terminate themselves. All sorts of chemicals get released, which cause significant damage towards the kid. It's like, I'm still not even willing to concede that even the day baby born, all that chemicals are released into mommy, that this means that they're going to be a more nurturing parent than the father. I'm just unwilling to concede this unless it's demonstrated to me logically or otherwise. There's just no way.
Like
I'm not going to do it.
by which you're, deciding that a baby's needs are met or a child's needs are met, like just like the basic necessities. I think there's also emotional support as well that is oftentimes provided more by the mother than the father.
Yeah, I dispute that. So I think that women really put an overemphasis on femininity when it comes to child rearing, and they really shouldn't. In fact, I think that they indulge children far too much. I think that they spoil them far too much. I think that they give in to their emotional demands far too much. And I would say that's counterintuitive, in fact, to caretaking and, to nurturing. I think that's counterintuitive to it.
Well,
that's why you see single moms with these big fat kids, for instance. It's because they overindulge, let them have the sweets.
Okay, but also, that's why a lot of us are single moms, because the mother overindulged her son and, enabled his bullshit, and then now he doesn't know how to
correct
properly function.
So the thing is
responsibility.
I consider these things. No, I don't think that that's because you do these kind of overindulgences that's actually nurturing. When I think of nurturing, I think of this, right? When you leave, you're equipped to deal with the world. You're equipped to deal with the world. That's nurturing. Anything else you tell me external to that, right, is going to be counterintuitive, because if it's not preparing them to do well in the world, then what?
Well,
then how is it nurturing?
Here's where I'll agree with you.
Intelligence is a thing too.
Here's where I'll agree with you with a caveat. I think the thing that women are better than men at doing is manipulation, and that's why you see so many female executives at the top. That's why you see the CIA hiring. You see the CIA hiring more women. There's honeypots. Women can manipulate, and they can actually make.
Stop. Let her finish.
They can
Go
actually
ahead.
make men think that something's their idea when it's really the woman's idea. That's why you see divorces happen when there's someone that comes in to try to basically Jezebel spirit him to try to make him come to her. So I agree with you that maybe women aren't as nurturing, but if you want to talk about preparing kids to be out in the world, some successful single mothers do a good job because they teach their kids how to be analytical, how to predict things before they happen, and how to prepare yourself for adversity. That
is the biggest load of horse shit that I've ever heard. Let me dispute all of this one at a time. First of all, no, they're not better at manipulation. Part of manipulation is strategy. The best strategists in the world are men. They're men. And you can't be a great strategist unless you understand the machinations of the enemy. You can't understand the machination of the enemy if you can't understand manipulation. So no, they're still.
Brian's over here like, oh no, women are better.
So I'm still going to give even.
Yeah, I kind of disagree.
I'm still even going to give manipulation to men. I think that men are the better spies. I think that men are even better at manipulation. When you're talking seduction, right? I still don't even think that they have the market on seduction. I think that men will just fuck them, but they would fuck them anyway. I think if you told them you were a spy, they'd still do it, right? Because they just want to.
You know what? I'll tell you, your wife's probably a genius.
Right? So the thing is, but backing it up from there, if you're talking about kind of out in the world, I would love to know how you think single moms better prepare their children. I didn't say
that they are the only ones that do. I said the successful single moms who have to be in that situation that aren't necessarily nurturing in the feminine way that you're talking about, where they might coddle, they might give them tough love and say, listen, this is the way the world is and this is how I'm going to prepare you.
Well, then they'd be taking on more masculine roles.
Because
right? And you still wouldn't have demonstrated they're more nurturing, only that they're more masculine.
Well, in regards to how you describe nurturing, where they're more equipped to deal with the world, because I can tell you, because I have to do both roles, I'm far less coddling and I'm more kind of like strict, and this is what you need to have the skills to have people like you, which is important to socially integrate and things like of that nature, which Peterson talks about. But you're definitely right. Because we have to play both roles, how you describe nurturing, we can be more prone to being that type of nurturing as opposed to oh, I'm at home, I don't have to worry about anything, I can just be in a good mood and
I'll
not really
just grant that it's so that you can do this. This still would not demonstrate that women are better or more equipped for it than men. So again, my initial argument would still stand that there's a whole slew of shit that I can point out that men are way better at than women, but I don't think women can point out a damn thing.
If women are not better, then why are fertility rates going down in men? And by 2070, I think the world's
going down in women
microplastics.
too.
No, not as much as men.
Oh no, just as much. In fact, let's take a look.
And well met. Lol Paladins donated $200.02. Disagree with Andrew about men being better at everything. Women are better narcissists than men. Women are better emotional manipulators than men. Women are better liars than men. Women are better.
Well, listen, I'm just going to point this out, Lol Paladins, very quickly, and you're going to send another super chat agreeing with me. With training, men would even be better at all of those things. So, anyway, back to this.
Thank you, Lol Paladins.
Right, back to this and these ideas. You were saying? Sorry.
Just saying how fertility rates in men are going down.
Yeah, they're going down in women too. You know why? Because women are getting married at 31, 32.
Due to the food, chemicals.
No, it's just because you're getting married at 31, 32. And
we can't say it's just because of that. Come on, microplastics are definitely proven to
But I'm okay.
Yeah.
Sure, everything's a fucking correlate. The oxygen in the plant, the oxygen in the air, that's a correlate somehow, I'm sure. But you have strong correlates, you have weak correlates. So let me just give you the strongest correlate. At 32 years old, you've left behind most of your childbearing years. Yeah? Yeah?
You're 35, yeah.
No, well, 32.
32.
Yeah, your most fertile years, what, 18, 19 through about 20, 27, 28? They're all gone. Behind you, right? So they have 1-2 kids. That's about it. So to say that female fertility is not drastically decreasing is absurd. It's not because it needs to.
A lot of women don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
Nowadays, too.
Yeah, so that would be a great reduction in fertility, right?
Yeah, but I mean, more men are becoming actually infertile, even if they want to have kids.
Sure. Well, first of all,
compared to
there's not that many men who are infertile. That's one. But two, even if that were the case,
why are you saying it like that?
Infertile.
Infertile. Even if that were the case, infertile. Even if that were the case, that women were just choosing it, that's still infertility. It's just by choice. It's just by choice. So it's like, who cares if you're fertile if you're not breeding? It makes no sense. Who cares?
Okay, hot take here, but I think men are more nurturing in relationships too. I do think so. We have so much freedom to be as bitchy as we want to our partners, but
well,
like
some of you.
And well, for some reason, Andrew.
Some of you do.
For some reason, I think you probably grant your wife a decent amount of rope to be kind of bitchy to you. Something just tells me.
You would think incorrectly.
Maybe. But from like literally not only just my experiences, but observing relationships with other people, like, we do have more leeway to be kind of shitty. Like we can do the stonewalling, we can do the, we can blow up and like, we have more excuses as to, and like we have periods, whatever. It's more socially acceptable for us to be abusive in various ways to men than it is for them to be to us. And I can tell you, I've left all my relationships. Like, this is something that I've reflected on and noticed in myself, that I tend to be more flighty and like the men tend to be more steadfast. So I actually do agree that men
are more nurturing.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
I got a question.
Not just to agree with you, because I will argue with you, but
wait,
we can't argue with the truth.
Yeah.
Wait, just going around the table, this is kind of somewhat related but kind of random. Are you pro-choice or pro-life?
I'm pro-choice.
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 Pro-life.
Pro-life.
Pro-life. Life.
So wait, pro-choice,